Okay, so I'm gonna do a video. This time I'm gonna just show, this is for people that have never used a push before and maybe you're contemplating buying one. Just want to show you how it kind of works with really making music on it. So I'm gonna stick to just sample chopping right now because of course there are some built-in instruments that you can use. You can buy some Max for Live plugins, but that will require that you have the suite version, and the suite version is not cheap, by the way, just so you know. So I'm not going to show you the suite and all that's the extra stuff. You have two outs and two ins, right? The quarter inch. The USB-C, you cannot pass audio through it to record in. So you have to record in using a cable. So I'm just going to show you the things that you're probably going to hate up front. If you're looking for something that requires that you want USB-C, the Move does that right now. I hope that someday they do put it on here. But the unique thing is there's a USB drive right here, or not drive, slot here that can control a MIDI controller, but you also can run into here an audio interface. So you do have that as an option if you choose to hook a small audio interface to it. But there is an audio interface built into it, so you technically don't need that. This is just a cable like that. So I'm going to put the left right back here and plug in. This is so I can show you how to record in from a device. Now we're going to have to use the computer because I use or iPad because I use my phone to record videos. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to grab the iPad. Since most people will have an iPhone or some type of device that they may be using. Give me a second. I'm going to take it off of this so I can show you. You also need the USB-C 3.5 or whatever your device is. You know, you'll need an adapter of some sort to be able to do it. That's what I'm going to use. Then I'll plug it into my iPad. Give me 1 second while I punch my code in. And I'm going to pick just some instrument on here. We'll use Koala just for the sake of it. Do I have any samples in here? No. Okay, so I'm going to put a sample in. So you'll see me do that real quick. The way I like to do it, well, there's a few ways. Sometimes I just use import file, which goes straight to my audio share. And then in here, you can just grab your samples or whatever you're going to use. So I'm going to go to this ambient thing here and look for a sample. So give me 1 second while I do that. That's MIDI. We don't want that. One shots. Nope, don't want one shots. All right, here we go. So here's a sample. I'm just going to go ahead and import that in here just so we have something to play into here. Now on the device, while I set this aside for a second, you will see this button here. This button controls where the audio is going to go. It gives you all the, it's like it's your settings basically. So I'm going to go in here and I have these linked. So without it linked, it looks like this. And this is a line input, but it can be an instrument or a high impedance, I guess, input. You can link these two together, which is what I'm going to do because I'm just summing in what comes off of the iPad. And if you hit the button here, which I need to turn the volume up on the iPad, you start playing and you'll see the volume coming through there. Now you don't hear anything. I'm going to go in here and just double check, make sure everything's plugged in. Yep, main volume. This is your volume switcher to switch between the different ones. So you click that and you should be in. The reason why you don't hear anything is because I don't have a track armed. So we're going to set up an audio track. The way you would do that is hit the plus, go to audio track, and I'm just going to go default. So now we have a default audio track. This is this weird sound I have. Does not sound pleasant. So I'm going to go and find something, hopefully that sounds a little more pleasant. Not that. Let me get a sound that sounds like something that doesn't, is this percussion? There's some percussion instruments. I'm just trying to find a melody maybe. There we go. Let's import a melody, something that's a little more cleaner. All right, this is some ambient melody samples. So I'm just going to use that. So you'll see you can hear the sound already, right? But if you need to go in and check this input, then you go over here and there's your input, right? So you can see where it's at. If you hit the input twice, now you can go in and adjust where you're going to do it. So I have mine set to auto, the mixer. Auto just means it'll record in when I need it to, and it'll stop, and it'll only play it when I need to. It'll kind of take care of the in and the out for you, so you don't have to do that. All right, so there it is. It's all set up. We don't really need to worry about that. If you have sound coming through, generally on your track, you know that it's set up. So this is the recording in process. If you have samples already in your machine, it's way faster, okay? So just so you know that. So I highly suggest get your samples together, bring all your samples in, but this is only if you're gonna sample into the device. That's a little more work. All right, so let's record. We'll just hit record and then press the button. So while I'm recording, if you want to actually look at this, you would need to go over here and press this button with that one. And now you can see it when it comes in. You can see the actual waveform. So you can record in and watch it if you want. I'm just going to record. Well, I was going to record 8, but it looks like I'm not since I accidentally took my finger off of it. All right, so you see I recorded in a little over 8 bars. So the way we're going to look at this is up here at the top is your loop position, loop length. So I usually change the loop length immediately. So I'll know that I just want 8 bars, so I just change it to 8. And then I hit crop, and now I have 8. You can zoom in over on this side. It's a zoom feature. Sorry, my finger keeps touching this, but I'm trying to stay out of the way so you can see it. So you see how you can zoom in and out. And then you have a gain right over here, which you can adjust. So you can see how I turned it all the way up or turn it down, whichever one you want to do. I'm just going to turn it to about 3 dB. By the way, if you hold shift in here, you can do that. So you have control over the small dB portions of it. There you go. So here's a sample now that's in. Now the next step is to chop this sample, you need to convert it. So we're going to go out of the edit. We're going to say done, right? And now we have this one. And then the next step will be to edit this particular one. All right, so let's play it to make sure we like it. Now, some people may not even want to chop. They just may throw the whole sample in and then do the chop in there. That's up to you. You can warp the sample while it's in here. So Complex Pro in Ableton is like their best form of the warp. So you can turn the warp off or leave it on Complex Pro. I'm gonna leave it on Complex Pro. It's fine by me. Shift play takes the cursor back to the beginning, and then you can save this file here. So there is also the ability to rename the file too. So if you click here, hold on a second, let me go to edit rather. If you click there, you can change the color here. So let's say I want this to be purple. Click here again, and I want to rename. So you got to hold it down to do it. Click rename, and now you can just rename that file. So if you want it to be, I don't know, we'll just call it piano for the sake of time. Piano A. All right, done. There you go. So piano, there's the sample. It's already set. Done with the editing. So we're good to go. So now that you have the file, you can look over here and see it's in here. And this is where you view it, is this one, right? It's like your viewing window. And then there's your monitor and all that stuff. So we're going to go back into here and we're going to convert this. So we're going to add a MIDI clip. Default, that's fine. Go back to the piano. And now we're going to convert this particular one into a sampler or simpler. So I'm going to hit convert. It's going to ask me what kind do you want it to be. So we're going to go simpler. That allows me to chop. Now, I don't know why when I was on there, it should have let me. You shouldn't have to add this MIDI. I'm not sure why it did that. It wasn't showing me the convert button lit up, but now it is, so it's fine. Once you convert it to a simpler, You can get rid of this audio track, by the way, so you don't have to keep it. So if you're, let's say you're in Ableton and you only have, if you buy one of these, it comes with intro, right? So the intro has 16 tracks, is what all you would have. If you want more, you need standard or you need the suite. I always say go with the suite. If you're gonna go from intro to anything, you might as well get the suite and get all the perks, all the extra stuff. All right, so here you go. So now it's in simpler. So now we're in the point where we can set the start, end, the length of everything, the length of the loop, the length of the fade, or you probably want to go to mode. So classic is just playing the sample all the way through. Different pitches, basically. But one shot is what it is. Everybody knows what a one shot is. You press it, it just plays all the way through. And then here's slicing. That's probably the one most people will go to if you're into sample chopping and that stuff of that nature. So you'll see up here that you have the start, end, and the nudge. So you can nudge a note, but we're not going to worry about that so much. The playback is mono, poly, or through. So I usually leave it at mono since the sample is pretty much that way. The slice is transient, beats, region, or manual. So you can manually chop it, use the transients, catch the beat if you want to just go on beat, and then set the division. On beat, and I think, on beat, you set the division. On region, you set the number of slices you want. That's manually. And then manual chopping is you playing each one of the chops in. So that's like this. Right? So that's what manual chopping is. I'm just deleting the slices. Okay, you can hit double stop or hit the the play twice and stop it. All right, real simple. So back to it where we were slicing on pad. So we're going to get away from manual. I'm just going to go with transients, and then you can adjust the sensitivity. So how many chops you want. You got up to 64 depending on the sample. So in this case, I'm cool with just taking 16. So there you go. So then you can go in and nudge chops and do all that stuff that you want to do. So now that you got at this point, this is the longer way of doing it. I'm going slower because if you've never seen it before, it could get out the gate. It might get a little confusing. So I'm making it really simple as I can, as slow as I possibly can for you. However, it's pretty quick once you get used to it. And if you're looking for a certain chop, I always say use something and just send the chops, put the chops into this one. But for those that don't have Ableton, maybe they're not using the computer where it's easy to just drop in chops or drop in stuff to load onto this, because it does not have like your typical SD memory card or anything like that. You're going to need to record in. So you're probably going to want to sample in the way I just did. That gets really fast. Doesn't take that long. Record to a audio track, hit the convert button, convert it to a simpler, chop it up, you're done. That's all it is. So let's talk about the other way. Now, once you get to this point, by the way, you would press record and just start playing in your stuff. You can set your BPM right here for the sample. Because it does have warping on here, it will adjust the sample to the BPM that you set, so you don't have to worry about that, which is kind of nice. Which is kind of a nice sample. So anyway, I'm going to leave this track alone. If we want to come back, I can show you something else if I think of something. At the moment, I'm going to just go with a new track. So to get a new track, just hit plus, and you're going to hit audio track. Now, if you already have clips built, you can insert clips. So you can do that. And by the way, this knob can push back or forward to move through, or you can just scroll down, which is what I prefer to use. All right, so we're gonna go, in this particular case, we're gonna add a sampler. So that's a MIDI track instrument. Now, usually that's gonna be under instruments, but you can also favorite and put it elsewhere, but I'm gonna use instruments just because it'll show you where it's at. So here you go, there's sampler, simpler. We wanna go with simpler for the chopping purposes. And then this top one represents the actual instrument. The rest of these are some presets that they've made in Simpler. So you have drum presets and you have pads and all kinds of stuff. Because Simpler can act as a instrument as far as drum rack. I mean, it can chop stuff, but then it can also be like an instrument too. Kind of like a one-shot instrument. All right, so let's just load a Simpler. So here's a Simpler, and it'll tell you press this button, which is your way that you would load a preset for this. Okay, so you just go here, and then you could either load something that's already there, or like on most people, if they have on their device, they may have some sounds or collections. I'm gonna go to my collections, and you'll see I have mine labeled as samples to make it easier. So there's the same ambient folder that I was just in. Let's see if we can find, here's some loops. And you'll see it previews the wave. So we'll pick that one. I just like to press in and then it loads it. That's the simple way that I find to do it. To go back to your instrument, you can hit here or here. I'm just gonna hit that. Now we're back at the instrument. So again, it's the same principle. That was fast compared to the other way. I think it's way faster if you just have everything, all your samples and different things loaded. Like, just takes so much less time. All right, we're gonna go to slicing, and you'll see this is a long sample. So maybe you don't want that whole sample. You just want a certain portion up to like maybe let's go to here. We'll go to 10. So you could go here and just say, I just want to look at this portion, and then you could change the slice sensitivity if you want. Maybe you want the whole 64 this time because there's a lot of samples there. Or you might want to manually chop, but in this case, I think I'm going to just tone it down to maybe a few less there. Even less than that for me. Oops. So I'm going to do just enough to get 16 chops. And I know it's hard to see on camera, but this, if you're looking at it, this is all right here is not here, but these 17 chops, because that's the reason why I was saying. So if you need to hold shift down, hold shift, and it can, but you'll see it's adding that extra chop in there for some reason. So it is what it is. Sometimes it's not spot on with the chops, but if you don't like those chops, no big deal. Maybe switch it over to region and just do regions if you want. I'm going to change the endpoint on this. I want to bring the endpoint to right there. And that's where I want it to be. Now I have 8 chops. So you can see how to do that. It's pretty simple. All right, so we're in that slice mode. Let's say this is what you want. You can also cut this sample down early on before you come in here so that you don't have to look at so much. Like if you know you only want the first 8 bars, I would say do that before you come into here, into your simpler. If you want to. If you don't and you just want to keep it there, that's fine too, either way. So anytime a button here is lit up, it represents whatever is above this white portion here, right? Anytime the white is there, that represents the actual knob. See, when I touch the knob, how it just shows you what it's on. And then anything down here is your tracks. These buttons here are your tracks. So that's how you kind of navigate through it. And of course, you know, with this, you could say, all right, now I want to go back and manually slice. you go. So you can have whatever slices you want. Okay, so you can hear the clicks and pops a little bit. That's part of it. You got to adjust it. You have the ability to nudge your slices wherever you want them. Or zoom in if you need to see it a little bit closer and then nudge your slices, which... Okay, so something else is really cool with this type of workflow too is you don't have to just be feeling like you're limited just the way the sample sounds. If you hit the plus button on there, you can add devices to it. So let's say you want some audio effects to be on there. There are a ton of audio effects. So some of these you might be wondering what they are. You'll have to do your research. Like Redux is a bit crusher, right? Roar is a distortion, but there's also a saturator here. There's also resonators, there's pitch loopers, there's phasers, flangers, overdrive, so you have a ton of different devices, different types of reverb, compressors, gates, EQ, 2 different EQs that you can use. There's echo is a delay. Dynamic tube is, of course, what it is. It's tube saturation, sound, and distortion, aka good stuff. And then there's some of the stuff I like to use, like convolution reverb. So you can go through and see there are so many reverbs, and you can add other people's stuff too. So it's not like you're limited to just what's in here. There are tons of people that make Max for Live plugins that work on Push that you can just go out and have access to. So like, let's say I want this small ambience, and their reverbs sound pretty good too. Or let's say you're the kind of person where you don't know which samples, you just want some random stuff. I showed this in a previous video. You can press the plus button, go to device, go to MIDI effects. And because this is a MIDI rack that houses your audio in there, you can use things like random. And random will go at the front. And when you put it in, you can set chance to 100. And then every time you hit one single pad, it's going to randomly select a different slice. So here we'll go over to the view. Where are we? Simpler. Okay, so you can select, you got tools like that kind of give you some format. You got reverbs, echoes, whatever you want to put on the end of it. And you'll notice now these are lit up here because there's your random button. Your simpler is the actual device with the sample in there, and then the reverb that we added. So you can go in and adjust the knobs on the reverb. So it's all right here in front of you for the most part. You record into the clips. There's your clips, and you can see that is how easy it is. This is, at this time, this version, there's another version that's in beta that's coming out that have even more stuff you can do. But this is just where we're at now. Like follow actions that allow you to tell it which track you want to start and all that good stuff. Anyway, we're not going to go into that because it's not out for the public yet. So I'm not going to even talk about it because I don't really have the beta version on here. Although you can get the beta version once you're in the Ableton world. You can sign up for the beta and they'll let you do it. So anyway. So that's how fast it is. So let's say you went back to this track and you... All right, so let's do this. Let's make some. All right, so we'll hit record. Oh, first of all, we need to set the BPM. I'm gonna set the BPM for like 85, something like that. Here we go. Oops, messed up already. I'm gonna hit undo. And I'm gonna delete that clip. All right, cool. All right, so what I wanted to do was, that I totally messed up on was actually turn the metronome on, because sometimes that helps. All right, so we'll turn that off, and now we'll hit shift play back to the beginning, and we're gonna go ahead and record now. Of course, I messed up, because that's what I do best, is messed up. So we'll undo the last action. If you hit undo twice, then you'll see it deletes the clip. So we'll do that. We'll go back to the beginning and do it over, just because I keep messing up. All right, here we go. Okay, hit play, and now you have a loop. So the thing is, like, when you're in this loop, here you go. Now you can see the loop. So you can see I did 6 bars. That is definitely not going to work. So that's okay. I'm going to change the loop to 4 bars, which I'm fine with. And I'm going to hit this crop. Now I have just 4 bars. If you want to duplicate it, then you just hit double. So let's say I want it to be 8. I hit double, and it'll double the 4 bars to 8. And now here's what it sounds like. Zoom out so you can see the whole thing. Turn the metronome off. There you go. So that's your loop. Now, I could just keep that way, which I'm perfectly fine with. But let's say a person they want to actually quantize the thing, because maybe it's a little off for them or something. So hit edit. Edit's usually in this corner, and you'll start to see other stuff now. So select all or deselect all, or these below ones are with the knob where you can nudge, change the length, change the pitch of a sample. You can scroll through each sample with this button here. It's pretty easy. Adjust the note if you want to. I'm not going to do that. I am going to go select all. And then if you go here under quantize, I actually hit it, but if you hold it, you can set the amount or the swing or anything. So we'll get off that. Now it's quantized to the beat. So but you don't have to do that if you like it loose a little more. While that's playing, I'm going to go in and add a drum kit in. So I'm going to use some kits I have, but typically, you can pick your favorite drums and set them up. You can put other people's drums in, right, if you want to do that. I'm going to take this this vintage dead kit that I made from the AD kit, load it in. It's going to take a second for it to load. There's a lot more samples in this. I'm going to use this to go back. And you'll see all this is here available for me to use. I'm going to turn it down. This drum is ridiculously loud. So I'm going to go to turn that down, just it alone. I'm going to go back to the mixer. And then I'm going to just turn down the volume on it to about -12 or something like that. There you go. Still really loud, my goodness. All right. So I'm just going. Watch this. So I can plug in that. kick, snares. Now, here's the interesting thing with the drums. I'm in the mixer setting. I'm gonna just go back here. You can go in and adjust your drums in here, but you can also go in and hold down one of these on the this one and adjust where you want it to hit. So let's say I want to nudge it. Hold on, let me hold it down this way. Say I want to nudge it a little bit forward, then touch the nudge, and I can, or this one, to make my own swing, right? Now if I go here, I might want to select all these and nudge them a little bit differently. So, but you don't have to. You could just nudge each one a little bit off the grid if you want. I'm just randomly nudging them too. I'm not like really. So fast. Or you could program some stuff, but then you could play the other stuff. So you might want to do a little sequencer there, but then, because I'm not a drummer, but then you might want to go in. So then you could just record that in. I'm going to take that note off. There you go. Now you can just start doubling this up, double the length. And then just change parts. So if you look down here, these are each one of your bars. So you could set them all and then zoom out. Now you see them all. Or you could just pick one to work on. So that's pretty much just putting together something simple, just showing you how you could take just a sample in from the iPad or wherever and chop it up. And then all of a sudden now you have a song started just that fast. Really easy to sample in. It's not hard to do. Sooner or later, I hope that they do make it go through USB-C. I think that would be more efficient for today's world that we live in, where everybody's using an iPad, iPhone, Android phone, computers. So much easier than having to go find a dongle to try to hook up something. But this is beneficial for those that have instruments like guitars and bass and other keyboards where they may want to plug into that. And don't forget, you can hook an audio interface into this one, even though this is technically have one built in. So you could run that, and that would give you more options too, or put your SP in front of it if you want to. Now, I wanted to address something, but I think I'm going to do it on another video because it's a different type of subject. So about this device and other devices and what my thoughts are. So that's it for this video. I will see you on the next one.